People ask me, what is the most common mistake that I see in interviews? And quite simply, it is a failure to be specific. Candidates often give answers that are too vague. They can talk quite a lot, feeling like they're answering my questions, but without delivering any real value. The easiest way to explain what I mean is with some examples. It's not uncommon for a candidate to say something like, "I've always been very good with customers," which sounds sensible enough, but it shows no real insight. After all, no one is going to openly say, "Oh, I've never been any good with customers." To be meaningful, you need to provide more detail, units of value, as we discussed in Module 4, Take Control. So, for example, a better candidate could say, "I've trained myself to listen well, so I can often spot opportunities that most people will miss." And you can imagine how this sort of answer could lead to a small story. Here's another example. It comes from a question that I used to ask when I was looking for sales leaders, when I would say, "How will you ensure that you give me accurate sales forecasts?" And very often I'd be given a rather vague answer like, "Well, it's a bit more of an art than a science. It depends on the sales guys that I'm talking to, and I combine their inputs and let you know." Again, the candidate thinks they've answered me, but I have no idea as to whether I'll get a good forecast or not. Imagine instead that someone said, "I'll give you my forecast at the start of every quarter, and then I will update you each month during the quarter. I come to the forecast by combining three inputs. First, I look at everything in the pipeline that is due to close, and I see what coverage we have over and above the target, and I get a value from that. Then I look at the weighted value of the deals in the pipeline based on the sales stages that we have in our process, and I take a second value from that. Then I step through each of the opportunities myself individually, and I make a binary call, yes or no, on whether I think a deal is likely to close. And that gives me a third view. I combine these three inputs with an element of caution, and then I give you my very best estimate." You can hear how this answer is a lot better. Here's a final example just to reinforce the point. Let's stay with the potential sales lead. Imagine that the question is about sales experience and the candidate says, "Well, I've been a sales leader for a good few years and I've managed some pretty big teams," compared to if they said, "In my last role, I led a sales team with 250 people. We were spread across 5 continents. We would bring in over 200 purchase orders a quarter. Every one of those needed chasing and checking and approving. So I'm no stranger to scale or complexity or the intensity that is required to close a quarter successfully." So whatever your area of specialization, if you can discipline yourself to be specific and find the right level of detail in every answer, then you'll give a more meaningful and indeed a more memorable interview performance.